Hello, good day. I'm Ma'am Kat, your super ma'am. So we're here again to discuss Math 6, Week 8. The title of our lesson is Types of Decimal Numbers. But before we start, paalala ko lang, kung hindi ka pa nakasubscribe sa channel ko, please subscribe now. And do not forget to hit the notification bell para lagi kang updated sa videos ko. And please, kung nagustuhan nyo rin yung mga previous videos ko at ang video na ito, give me a thumbs up. Okay? Thank you. And before we discuss our lesson, I want to make a shout out muna sa ating mga subscribers. feeling big YouTuber si ma'am. Feeling vloggers talaga. Vlogger talaga si ma'am. So I want to make a shout out po sa ating mga subscribers dyan sa Milan, Italy. Wow, umabot ng Milan ang video ni ma'am. Kay Sir Paul Yunel Basit from Milan, Italy. Thank you po for subscribing and watching my videos. At sa mga nanonood pa dyan na alam ko na kasamahan nyo po. Thank you. And then, we also have shout out kay, hindi ko alam kung tama yung pronunciation ko ng pangalan niya, Jaire Grace. Hindi lang yung sinabi niya, Jaire Grace. Thank you for subscribing, Ma'am Kat. At thank you sa panonood ng videos ko. Nakaka-inspire yung mga message niyo. And then we also have Lay Patulot. Thank you, Lay Patulot. Si Lay Patulot yung unang-una nagsabi sa akin ng mga pa-shoutout po sa susunod na videos. Thank you for watching my video. And do not forget to like all my videos. Now, we'll proceed to our lesson. So after going through this lesson, you are expected to differentiate terminating from repeating and non-terminating decimal quotients. Now we start with rational number. It is a number that when written as decimal, either stops or repeats in a pattern. All rational numbers can be written as fractions or decimals. It can be all integers, positive and negative. It can also be zero. Now, here we have examples. Examples are -3, -2, -1. So these are the negative integers. We also have 0 that represents 0. 1/2 represent fractions. Since in our definition, it can be written as fractions. And I just want to add that rational number can be expressed into fraction A over B, where B should not be equal to 0. So, ibig sabihin, lahat ng fractions ay rational number. Example, 1/2, 1/3, 2/5, 4/8. They are all rational numbers. Maliban lang kung ang denominator ay 0. Example, 2 over 0. So, this is not a rational number. Kasi sabi sa ating definition, it can be expressed as A over B, where B should not be equal to 0. Kasi magiging undefined na siya. So, next we have here 1 is a whole number or positive integers. We also have 1.111. As we define the rational number here, it is a decimal that repeats or written in a pattern or repeats in a pattern. Therefore, it is a rational number. And we have 2 is a positive integer, so it is a rational number. We have 3.333 is also a rational number. It is a repeating decimals. Decimal numbers. So, ito po yung ating rational number. So, pwede siyang decimal number na nagre-repeat paulit-ulit at hindi natatapos. Either stops or repeats in a pattern. And it can be written into fractions. And all integers are rational numbers. Now let's proceed to the next slide, which is irrational numbers. So when we say irrational number is a number that when written as a decimal does not end and never repeats. It can never be written as a fraction, and it cannot be written as a quotient of two integers. The square root of the numbers that are not perfect squares are called irrational number. So example here, we have negative square root of 2, negative square root of 3, square root of 2, square root of 3. They are all irrational numbers. So here, ito naman yung kabaliktaran ng rational numbers. Kaya nga pag sinabing irrational numbers, pag sinabing irrational, so opposite siya ng rational, we have no ratio. That means no ratio. So siya ay non-terminating. Ibig sabihin, hindi natatapos ang decimals. Non-terminating decimal. At ang sabi dito, lahat ng square root na hindi perfect squares or lahat ng na hindi perfect square, they are called irrational. So ano-ano ba yung perfect square? We have square root of 4, square root of 9, square root of 16, square root of 25, square root of 36. Lahat ito rational kasi sila ay perfect square. Yung 4, 9, 16, they are all perfect square kasi as dyan we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They are rational. So, ang irrational, yung mga hindi perfect square katulad ng square root of 3, square root of 5, square root of 6, square root of 7, square root of 8, square root of 10. Kasi yung 9, rational perfect square yun eh. Square root of 11, those are irrational numbers kasi hindi sila perfect square. At the same time, kung ang decimal mo, example, is 0.1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, hindi na nagtapos, hindi pa rin nag-ulit, it does not repeat, and it does not terminate, it is an irrational number. So, irrational po. Yan yung irrational numbers natin. Now, let's proceed to the next slide. Okay, magbibigay ako dito na example. Tell me if it is an irrational or rational. So, we have 2/5. Ang 2/5 ay rational. Bakit? Kasi it is a fraction. Let's have another example. Let's have 0.15. Ito ay rational kasi it ends. It terminates. Alright, siya ay tinatawag nating terminating decimal. Pag sinabing terminating decimal, natatapos. We also have 4. Ito ay rational kasi ito ay positive integer. How about 0.025? Ito pa rin ay rational kasi nagtapos yung decimal. Terminating decimal. Alright. These are examples of rational numbers. Let's have another example. Let's have another example. Example ay pi. Is pi a rational or irrational? It is an irrational number. Kasi ang alam lang natin sa pi ay 3.14, which is wrong. Ang pi ay mahaba pa, 3.14, 15, 29, and so on. Napakahaba. Siya ay hindi natatapos, non-terminating, and non-repeating decimal. Kaya ito ay tinatawag na irrational numbers. Let's have another example. The square root of 32. It is an irrational. Kasi hindi perfect square yung 32. Let's have another example. We have 3.26739 and so on. So, ibig sabihin, walang nag-repeat na digit at hindi rin natapos yung digit. Ito ay irrational number. So, that's it. So, now, alam niyo yung pagkakaiba ng rational. Now, let's proceed to learning task number 1. Classify each number as a rational and irrational number. Write R for the rational number and IR for the irrational number in your notebook. So, napakadali naman, ano? So, identify nyo lang siya kung rational or irrational number. Okay. Now, let's proceed to the next slide. Alright, let's go to the next slide. The word terminate means end or stop. A decimal that end is a terminating decimal. A terminating decimal have a finite number of digits or numbers which comes to an end after the decimal point. It is any rational number. When you divide the numerator by the denominator, you end up with a remainder of 0. Then you have a terminating decimal. Now, so for you to understand it, I will give you an example, but let us first go back with this term. Terminate means end or stop. Ibig sabihin, lahat ng decimal na nag-e-end or may katapusan, yan ay terminating decimal. Example, 0.15, 2 and 5 tenths, 3 and 25 thousandths, 75 hundredths, 13 hundredths, 2,756 ten thousandths, 0.05 or 5 hundredths. They are all terminating decimal. Kasi nagtapos yung decimals nila. Kaya nga, terminating nag-end ang decimals. So, they are all terminating decimals. Now, let's proceed to the next one. Ano naman yung kabaliktaran ng terminating? Then we have here the repeating or non-terminating decimals have an infinite number of digits. It is a decimal number that continues endlessly with no group of digits repeated. When you divide the numerator by the denominator with the remainder that begin to repeat after some point, then you have a repeating or non-terminating decimal. It can be converted into fraction. Pag sinabi natin repeating and non-terminating, ibig sabihin from the word repeat, nag-uulit ang digit. Nag-uulit ang digit and then hindi siya natatapos, non-terminating. It has an infinite number of digits. Napakadami ang digits. Now, let's have an example for that. Example of non-terminating decimal is or we can write as 0 and 3. Yan, nilalagyan natin ng bar kapag nagre-repeat yung digit. So, non-terminating siya, walang katapusan at the same time, paulit-ulit. Or we can have 3, 5, 3, 5, 3, 5, 3, 5, and so on. So, paulit-ulit si 3, 5. Or we can write this one. So, non-terminating. Hindi siya natatapos. Or we have another and so on. Or we have this one. And we can also have so these are repeating by 9. So, paano malaman na siya ay terminating or repeating or non-terminating? So, we need to divide this. We have 3 divided by 9. 3 divided by 9 is 0. Cannot be. Add decimal point here and add 0. Then we have 30 divided by 9 is 3, which is 27. And then subtract. 30 minus 27 is 3. Add another 0, bring down 0. 30 divided by 9 is also 3. 3 times 9 is 27. Subtract 30 minus 27 is still 3. Add another 0. 30 divided by 9 is 3. 9 times 3 is 27. Subtract 3. Add another 0. So kung mapapansin nyo, walang katapusan. Pwede ka na mag-stop kung ikaw yung naka 5 digit. So the answer is 0.3. May bar sign. This is a repeating and non-terminating decimal. So, para makuha mo yung sagot dito, di-divide mo muna and then identify mo kung yung nakuha mong quotient ay repeating or non-terminating or terminating decimal. Let's have another example. Another example is we have 4 divided by 9. So we have here 4 divided by 9 is 0. Add decimal, add 0. 40 divided by 9 is 4, that is 36. 40 minus 36 is 4. So we still have 4. Add another 0. 40 divided by 9 is 4. That is 36. Subtract, we have also 4. Add another 0. Bring down 0. 40 divided by 9 is 4. That is 36. So paulit-ulit lang. Ibig sabihin, ang sagot natin ay repeating. So this is a repeating and non-terminating decimal. So pag ganun paulit-ulit, repeating and non-terminating decimal. Let's have another example. We have 4 fifths. No. Let's have an example. We have 8 25ths. So we have 8 divided by 25 is 0. Add decimal, add 0. 80 divided by 25 is 3. That is 75. Subtract 80 minus 75 is 5. Add another 0. Bring down 0. 50 divided by 25 is 2. 2 times 25 is 50. So the answer is 0.32 or 32 hundredths. Therefore, this is a terminating decimal. Now Now, let's proceed to the next slide, which is the learning test number 3. So, learning test number 3, write the given fraction in decimal numbers or vice versa. So, dito naman, gagawin daw natin siyang fraction. Kapag fraction, gagawin natin decimal. At kapag decimal, gagawin natin siya fraction. Let's have an example. Changing fraction to decimal. Change 2/5 into decimal. So, may dalawa tayong paraan ng pag-change niya into decimal. The first one is by changing the denominator into, dapat ma-change mo siya into 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000. So, kailangan ma-change mo itong denominator. Since 2/5 siya, madaling gawin yung 5. Isip ka ng number na i-multiply mo para maging 10. So, ang naging multiplier natin ay 2. So, ibig sabihin, yung 2, numerator, i-multiply sa 2, which is become 4. And 5, i-multiply sa 2, parehas number na ipang-multiply will become 10. So, that is 4 tenths. So, the decimal of 2/5 is 4 tenths. Pwede rin naman tayong mag-divide. We have 2 divided by 5, that is 0. 0 yun. So, anong gagawin mo? You add decimal point and add 0. So, we have here now 20 divided by 4 is 20 divided by 5 is 4, and 5 times 4 is 20. Subtract, we have 0. So, the answer is 4 tenths. We can also check. That is the quotient. Let's check. We have 4 tenths times 5. This is our quotient and this is our divisor. So that is equal to 20, pero meron tayong decimal point 1 place. So that will become 2.0. So parehas na ang ating dividend. So ito pa rin, 4 tenths pa rin ang sagot. So the decimal of 2/5 is 4 tenths. That is the decimal form of 2/5. Now let's have the next example. We have changed 3/4 into decimal. So we have 3 divided by 4 is 0. 3 divided by 4 is 0. Add decimal point and add 0. So we have 30 divided by 4 is 7. 7 times 4 is 28. Subtract. 30 minus 28 is 2. Add another 0. Bring down 0. 20 divided by 4 is 5. And 5 times 4 is 20. Subtract, the answer is 0. Therefore, 3/4 when changing to decimal is 75 hundredths. So, pwede rin natin siyang i-change. That is the quotient. Pwede natin siyang i-check. We have 75 hundredths times 4. We have 4 times 5 is 20. Carry 2. We have 4 times 7 is 28 plus 2 is 30. Carry 3. 4 times 0 is 0 plus 3 is 3. So this is our quotient, this is our divisor, and this is our dividend. So kapareha siya ng dividend natin dito. Now, pwede rin natin siyang change ng ganitong paraan. So iisip ka ng number na dapat maging yung 4 maging 100, that is times 25. So 4 times 25 is 100. Kasi yun lang yung, hindi naman pwedeng gawing 10 ang 4 kasi walang multiplier na magiging 10. Wala kang pwede i-multiply sa 4 na magiging 10 siya. So, only thing is to change 4 into 100. Paano gagawin 100 yung 4? That is multiply it by 25. Dahil nag-multiply ka kay 4 ng 25, i-multiply mo rin si 3 sa 25. So, 3 times 25 is 75. So we have here 75 hundredths. So kapag isinulat mo siya sa decimal, 0.75. So that is how to change decimal or fraction into decimal. Let's have to change decimal into fraction. Example we have here, change 25 hundredths into fraction. Since alam naman natin, madali yung 25 hundredths into fraction, ang gagawin lang natin is, we write 25 hundredths and the denominator is 100 because it is in a hundreds place. And then we simplify it. We get the lowest term by dividing both by 25. 25 divided by 25 is 1, and 100 divided by 25 is 4. Therefore, 25 hundredths is equal to 1/4. Let's have another. We have 8 tenths. So we have 8 tenths. Or lowest term, divide both by 2. So the answer is 4/5. Let's have another. We have 125 thousandths. So we have 125 thousandths. They can be both divided by 125. So we have 125 divided by 125 is 1, and 1000 divided by 125 is 8. The answer is 1/8. So therefore, 125,000 is equal to 1/8, and 8 tenths is equal to 4/5.